So, I had this dream. In this dream, there was these kids, and they was running and playing. Well, not really running, not really playing, but they was just, like, running around. And I was wondering, like, whose kids they were. These kids wound up coming towards where we was. And then there was, like, an explosion. I guess the house had set on fire. And it was, in its place, there was, like, some type of, I don't know what it was. It was like, it looked like, honestly, it looked like freaking chocolate. Like, it looked like there was chocolate in the place of where the kids disappeared and the house was caught on fire. So these kids were running around with dark dirt stains on them. They didn't have any clothes. And we're sitting there wondering, like, what was the dark stains on them. And that's how we found out that these kids had passed from a fire. And it was only two kids. It was a boy and a girl. The little boy, and then it was a older girl. But they were both young. Maybe the chocolate was in, condolences set upon the place where they had passed. So we actually found out that the little girl and the little boy, it was a mother that they were looking for. They were looking for their mother, and they kept following. I don't know if it was me or my daughter. I think it was like my daughter or my niece. They was following them because they thought that that was their mother, and that's why they were leached onto. Um, they were leeching onto those. They was leeching onto us. But yeah, these two little kids, they had passed in a fire. I don't know. So yeah, that's just a portion of the dream that I had, but I feel like that was the most relevant for some reason. But I'm gonna try to kind of explain or try to get through the other part of the dream. So yeah, I'm gonna tell y'all, try to explain to y'all what happened. So there was this guy, and I guess this guy was a friend of one of my siblings, and he was just like, he noticed me. We was in this, I think it was like a club or something. Or no, it was just a like a get together, like a little party we had, and he noticed me, and the next day he wound up coming back to the house with my brother, with my sibling. Well, I would say with my brother, and he was like, he kept looking at me. He was like, I want to, be with her. I like her, and I guess my brother okayed it, and we started spending time together. So then, as we got to know each other, he brought up that he knew some friends that I used to hang out with. And the past of my childhood, my best friends, they were twins. I don't think they were twins, but I seen them as twins because they were so close in age. But their names was Sabrina and Katrina. And he was asking me, he was like, do you know them? I was like, yeah, you know. But I guess we got into it, and they denied the fact that they knew me because we got into it. So they was in denial. Like, they was like, no, I don't know her. And so then he was, I was telling him, I'm like, all right, whatever, we need to get away from this certain person because this certain person is on our back. It was even to a point where one of my siblings tried to go over there and talk to him. And he quickly turned away, like, no, because he was interested in me. So I thought, and I'm only say I thought because once we get deeper into the stream, you're going to see what I'm talking about. So, um, let me see. So then, once we got that time together, once, my siblings got off my back, we got that time together. And as soon as we got that time together, these friends popped up and it was like, I know him, as if they've been around. Like, they've been around watching and this and that. They was like, I know him. And the youngest friend, sibling slash friend, well, the youngest friend, her, okay, so I'm going to use names. Her name was Katrina. So Katrina was like, I know him. I was like, what? And she was like, yeah, we used to be together, but my older sister, Sabrina, won't allow us to be together. So, we just, we used to date. And then I went to him like, did y'all used to date? And he was like, yeah. Well, we somewhat still are dating, but, we're still together, but, yeah, her sister won't allow us to be together. So at this point, I'm just like, wow, I guess, what are we doing? And, if you got a girlfriend right here and you interested in me, like, are you really interested in me? And it just confused everything. So, like I said, this friend was my brother's friend. And he he was, before that happened, he was trying to, like, well, they seen me doing, like, different stuff, and they was trying to get manipulate somebody into doing something that I knew, that wasn't good for them. And I wound up speaking up about it, and they was like, okay, they called it off. So after this, that's when we got our time together. So we got our time together, and all of a sudden, when they said they were still together, I didn't feel a certain way because I started liking him, like really, really liking him. So I guess they decided to be together while I was right there in the middle of, like, when we was together. I'm like, wow, so, but I demanded. I'm like, we about to spend our time together. We about to get this time together. I don't care if y'all together. Y'all will be together after we spend our time together because we just now getting to the point where we can spend our time together. So, she had to wait around. And then when we got our time together, she started peeking her head up there. Like, I don't know, like now she changed her mind to where she care about him to the point where now she's snooping and peeking her head up and, just trying to be in the middle of the situation so that, it became like a fighting type thing. I'm gonna fight for you now. And this just leads back to the how people are, it's just like I hate the fact, and this been like this been happening now. Like this happens now where people just don't want to accept the fact that this person is moving on because you didn't accept them back then. You didn't fight for them back then. So now this person is moving on and you don't want to allow this person to move on because now you feel a certain way because you see this person with another person and now you feeling like, oh, now I got to fight for this person when this person is trying to move on and you're holding this person back because now you feel a certain way. You know, um, so yeah, it's just like a lot of our past is trying to pull us back. A lot of people from our past, a lot of the past is just trying to hold us back from moving on when we actually feel like we can move on. Maybe this guy feel like he couldn't move on, so he's seeing a chance in me to where now I'm about to move on. I'm kind of over the situation. If your sister want to interfere with what we got going on, I'm going to move on. I'm finally getting a chance to move on, and then boom, now you want to recognize or acknowledge the fact that, oh, what she's doing is wrong. Now I'm going to fight. Now you choose to fight when I decided to move on. And that's just the way life is. And that's how I feel like maybe this dream this message was a dream. I mean, this dream was a message to kind of just, of something that was just on my conscience that I didn't know. But I hate that people are like that. You know, they feel like they got to fight and get in the middle of somebody moving on. But maybe, you know, this is where life is where people are snapping out of the trance that they were in when their family or somebody, and you know, somebody was holding them back from something. They're finally snapping out of it, and at the time that they're snapping out of it, this person is moving on, and this person is just trying to, well, has already started moving on and left you in the past, in the back of their mind, and now you're trying to creep back in because you're woken up now. You know, now you want to acknowledge, now you want to pay attention when you wasn't paying attention before. You was just letting it happen. You know, so it's just like, wow, like, when I was in jail, I'm just like, do you like me or not? But it seemed like he did like me. Like, we was really moving on. We was getting to know each other and stuff like that. But I guess, like I said, that girl stuck her head in the middle of it, and she just wouldn't allow. And now I feel like the past is really preventing a lot of people from moving on to their future. You know, God is allowing us to move on. God is paving a way for us to get out of whatever situation we was in that was holding us back from where we was. I mean, that was holding us back and taking us out of for where we was. God is taking us out of from where we were. You know, He's paving a path for us. But the past won't allow the situation to go on because they're snapping out of it. You know, and they're trying to hold on with all their might. They're trying to keep these people in their hold, you know, in their stronghold. Basically, like enslaving their partners, like enslaving the the people. The past is trying to enslave us, you know, to a position where trying to get us entangled, or the past don't want to let go. That's the whole thing. The past don't want to let go, you know, not caring how the other person felt in the situation. The whole time I was here, but then you didn't pay me no mind. You didn't care about how I felt. You know, I was here, but you was acting like I wasn't. And now that I'm with another person, you want to finally pay attention like, oh, yeah, you're here. You know, and now when I'm moving on, you want to hold me back. You want to keep me, you know, enslaved to you when I'm finally getting the chance to move on. So, yeah, I just felt like that was a message. That was definitely a message in my dream. Um, so yeah, just know that, you know, God is paving the way for us. God is definitely paving a way to get us out of the mud, to get us out of whatever situation we are in where we don't feel appreciated. You know, God is paving that way. I won't say trying. God is paving that way, but the past, and you know, is trying to, you know, get in the way of whatever God is doing in your life. But you just have to have faith, and you have to keep believing, and you just have to be patient, because as anything that goes on in life, you know, if there's a situation, there has to be some moment or time to unravel everything. Just like you're unraveling a yarn ball, you know, that's just in a, you know, you're unraveling a yarn ball, and it just keep getting knots in it. You know, it's a process, and you have to really just trust the process, and trust that, you know, you have to have patience, and whatever is for you will come to you, and whatever time it is, it's never too late. You know, you can receive your blessing, or whatever's for you later on in life, but as long as you received it, you received it, you know, and that's all you got to just be grateful about. You know, whenever you received it, you received it. It don't matter when, but you received it, and you know, God is, you know, working, and God is here for you, and you just have to be patient, trust the process. So yeah, with that being said, I'm out. I hope y'all enjoyed the little lesson and dream. I'll talk to y'all next time. Like, comment, subscribe, be notified, and share at y'all for you to show you care.